Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new Elder Scrolls Online video with me, Sherman. Today, something big just dropped, you guys. We all knew it was coming, but it is the patch notes for Summerset 4.0.0 update, and there is a lot to go over. So I'm going to start. I'm going to skip through the top here. I'm not going to really go through it. It just kind of explains what's coming with the chapter and everything. A lot of new changes, that stuff. This is the main stuff that's coming. So Summerset the Zone, the Psijic Order skill line, Cloud Rest, jewelry crafting traits, new item sets, new collectibles, Psijic portals, abysmal geysers, new houses, base game changes, battlegrounds moving to base game, Morrowind and Warden available in the Crown Store, new motives, new achievements, new Alliance War and Battleground collectibles, new alchemy regents, Crown Store gifting. We will be able to do that. That's awesome. Champion point increase, and then fixes and improvements, and then combat and gameplay challenges or changes. Sorry, changes. My specking is not working. But a lot of really good changes and stuff, and we're going to go through these. But we're going to kind of skip through the Summerset stuff. I do want to point this out. The new chapter will have 6 delves, 6 world bosses, and 2 public dungeons, Sunhold and Karn Wasten, which sound really cool. We'll have new abysmal geysers and the Psijic portals, and I'll get to the Psijic portals here in a second. So let's go ahead and go over the skill line for this. They don't mention the passives, but that's okay. The skills themselves are Time Stop, which slows down the passage of time to slow. It eventually freezes, stunning all enemies in the area. Imbue weapons, enhance your weapons with energy, causing the next light attack to deal additional damage. Acceleration, bend time and space around you, increasing the movement speed and power of your critical strikes. Mend wounds, invoke the rights of Mauida, replacing your next light attack with a heal over time, or your next heavy attack with a channeled heal. Meditate, learn to focus your mind into a relaxed state to restore health and magic and stamina. And then undo, which is the ultimate. Walk backwards through time, reappearing at a prior location with the exact same health, magic, and stamina values from 4 seconds prior. The Psijic Order skill line. A lot of these sound really cool, but until I can get on PTS, I'm not going to give my opinions on these yet. I'm going to actually do a video on the Psijic Order skill line, hopefully later this week. So, on to the Cloud Rest trial. It says here that it is a 12-player trial located in the tallest mountain of Summerset, Eton Nur, and then the trial includes a normal and challenging veteran version. There are unique item sets detailed further down. The trial includes perfected versions only found in the veteran difficulty. So there's perfect and imperfect, or perfect versions and imperfect versions of these trial sets. Unique achievement awards are available for completing the trials, including a new player skin, titles, and unique housing items. We've already gone over jewelry crafting, so I'm not going to go too much into detail here. They do go into explaining a lot of this stuff with jewelry crafting, the different materials like pewter, copper, silver, electrum, and platinum. They also go over the improvement stuff to improve it from white quality all the way up to gold quality. Really cool stuff there. And then they go over the traits of each one. Sorry. And the passives for the skill line. So that's kind of cool. And there's a lot of traits to jewelry crafting. There's Arcane, which increases max magicka. Healthy, which increases max health. Robust, which increases max stamina. And then Trireme, which increases health, stamina, and magicka. We did get some information on this. It's like 450 each one, but we'll have to wait until we get on PTS to see exactly. There's Harmony, which increases the spell power of activated synergy effects. Swift, which increases the non-mounted movement speed. Infuse, which increases the power of enchantments on the piece of jewelry. And then Protective, which increases the physical or spell resistance. And then, of course, there is Bloodthirsty, which increases the damage you deal to low health enemies. So all these sound really cool, and they explain how to get the traits and everything for these as well. So Now we're going to get into the new item sets. There's 10 new item sets in the game, 3 crafted, 3 dropped, and then 4 for the trial itself. But remember, there's actually 8 in the trial because there's perfect and imperfect. So not much about them is known how they change with between the two. So here we go. Adept Rider, this is first crafted set, gives you on the 2-piece spell resist, physical resist on the 3-piece, max health on the 4-piece, and then while mounted you gain evasion, major evasion, increasing your dodge chance by 15%. Dismounting spawns a dust cloud at your position for 12 seconds that deals 1436 physical damage every 1 second to all enemies who stand inside it. You and your group members inside the dust cloud gain major evasion. The dust cloud can be created once every 12 seconds. This sounds like a really cool PvP set, but I'm not sure how many people will use it. But it does sound like a really good PvP set. Slode's Semblance is the next craftable set, and this one gives you, with the 2-piece max magicka, 3-piece max stamina, 4-piece spell damage, weapon damage also on the 4-piece, and then the 5-piece damage an enemy with a 10% chance to put Leeching Shadow on them, dealing 853 oblivion damage every 1 second for 6 seconds. This effect can occur every 6 seconds. That's a lot. That's going to be crazy to see what people come up with on that set. I'm really excited for this set, the Slode's Semblance. I think it's going to be a really good addition to the game, especially for those people who want to play more hybrid type builds, or possibly want to just make a specific type of build but still utilize some of the other thing. And then Nocturnal's Favor is the 3rd crafted set. This one gives stamina recovery, 2 max health on the 3-piece and 4-piece. And then the 5-piece is when you successfully dodge, you heal yourself for 4,000. This effect can occur once every 2 seconds. This is a great set for a Nightblade tank, because Nightblades already have the ability to get dodge from their Mirage or one of their skill lines. So this will help them a lot with that, and it'll give them that greater ability to be a good tank. This might even be a new meta thing. I don't know, but seems pretty cool. I'm gonna have to do some testing with it. Then the 3 drop sets, there's a light, a medium, and a heavy. The first one in the light set is the Wisdom of Vanis. This one gives max magicka, magic recovery, and then another thing of max magicka. The great thing about this one is after landing a full heavy attack, gain major mending for 3 seconds, increasing your healing done by 25%. The duration is increased with each rank of Restoration Staff passive Essence Drain when using a Restoration Staff. So this means it's going to get increased duration, so that means it's going to last longer than 3 seconds. That's an incredible set for healing. Next is Griffin's Ferocity, and this one gives on the 2-piece weapon crit, 3-piece weapon crit, 4-piece weapon damage, and then after dealing direct damage, gain minor force and minor expedition for 3 seconds, increasing your critical damage done by 10% and increasing your movement speed by 10%. Now, this is what you have to understand about this 5-piece set, guys. There is no cooldown. It has a 3-second activation time, so that means when you activate it, but when you deal direct damage, you have that for 3 seconds. When that 3 seconds is off, anytime you deal direct damage, it's going to be reapplied. So this is a constant. Minor force. That means 10% critical damage done. That's constant. This is as powerful as using that buff from the Fighters Guild line. People who run this gear set, I can see this becoming a mainstay for a lot of stamina DPS builds. Like as a main set. This might even become a new meta set for stamina DPS. Moving on to Grace, Heavy Armor, Grace of Gloom. Max health, healing taken, max health, and then when you take damage from a single target direct attack or ability, you have a 10% chance to become a living shadow, causing your light and heavy attacks to deal or to heal you for 3,440 and gaining major invasion for 5 seconds, increasing your dodge chance by 15%. This effect can occur once every 15 seconds. Now, before you guys ask, is this going to be something that tanks will use? Maybe. Maybe if they're playing a dodge tank. Like, this is going to be great for like a Warden tank, because they can get that dodge, plus use their other thing that gives them minor evasion. So this might be something a Warden tank might use to get that dodge chance, along with this setup here, the Nocturnal one. I could see people utilizing both those sets together as tank sets, but not as in-game maybe, but pretty close to it. So let's move on to the trial sets, and this is where things get a little different because they're not your atypical trial sets. Most trial sets, or a lot of trial sets, give you extra damage versus dungeon and trial mobs. These ones don't, and I'm glad that they did this way, because this really makes these stand out, because it's going to make them really useful outside of trials as well. So the first one, the light set, is the Mantle of Siora. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I'm probably mispronouncing it like crazy. But it gives you weapon damage, spell critical, and max magicka on the 4-piece. On the 5-piece, after dealing any damage to an enemy with a single target ability, you create a ring of fire beneath your target. After 1 second, the circle ignites the enemies within it, dealing 2,108 or 2,408 flame damage every 1 second for 5 seconds. This effect can occur every 10 seconds. This is like a monster set, guys. Proc set. Because it does have that max magic on the 4-piece, and the 5-piece gives you the proc. And then the two other things are very similar to running something like Imperial Wrath, or Wrath of the Imperium, because Wrath of the Imperium would give you spell damage and spell crit, and then if you're running like Grothar's with it, running a Maelstrom Master Staff with, you know, a 5-piece, and then like the Wrath of the Imperium, you could have this same setup, but now you can run this with another 5-piece and run a Master Staff and a Maelstrom Staff, and get greater advantage from it, because now you're running 2 5-piece sets. One's going to proc, the other one could be Julianus, and you could run that Master Maelstrom without needing the monster set. So this is going to give some great build combinations for those who want it, and I like that set. I really like this set. Next up is Vestments of I'm not even going to try. We're just going to go down. So this one's 2-piece, gives you magic recovery. 3-piece is extra magic recovery. 4-piece is max magicka, and then the 5-piece ground-based effect abilities cast apply a single or cast a healing circle on the ground, which heals you and your allies standing in the circle for 1,032 health every 1 second for 5 seconds. This effect can happen every 5 seconds. So if every 5 seconds, let's say you're dropping a wall of lightning, you're going to get this. You're going to get this heal every 5 seconds. So this is going to be a really powerful set for some healers to use. I don't know how many healers are going to use it, but I will say this. A lot of people want this set because of how effective it can be. Now, we don't know how these perfect, imperfect sets are going to be. We'll have to see what they say. It says, note, these are likely to be adjusted before the update goes live to make them more interesting to use. So some of these sets can change. But so far, that sounds really, really good. So moving over to the medium, Arms of Reliquin. So this one gives you weapon critical, stam recovery, weapon critical. Now this is a kind of setup I've been waiting for a long time, because it does do 2 things a critical, like Hunting's Rage, like Night Mothers, just like the other sets that are listed above that do the same thing. But the 3-piece and the 5-piece are what sets it apart. That stam recovery, and then the 5-piece, after landing a critical light or heavy attack on an enemy, you have a 15% chance to curse them with harmful winds, dealing 1358 physical damage to them and nearby enemies every second for 5 seconds. This is a really great set because it's like a combination of a crit set and a recovery set with that, that same monster combination I was talking about. So this you could equip and run this with, say, agility and like you would run like say Hunnings with agility set and a monster set, and it's kind of the same thing here, except this one's going to give you stam recovery instead of, like, say, extra weapon damage. But still, it still plays in that same ballpark of the 5-3-2 setup, or 5-3-2-1 setup versus a 5-5-2 setup. So now you can do a 5 or a 5-5-1 setup. So you can run 2 5-pieces and master dual wield with Maelstrom bow, and use this set and still get a proc out of it like you would have from a monster set. So it's kind of a good addition. How well it works, I don't know. We'll have to see. Testing is needed. And then last on to the sets here is the last 5-piece heavy set, which is Aegis of Galloway. And this is a really cool set, guys. So first off, max health on the 2-piece. So 4-piece is healing taken. The 5-piece is stam recovery. The 4-piece is stam recovery. The 5-piece is after successfully blocking, heal an ally within 15 meters of you for 3,440. This effect can occur once every 2 seconds. Now, this can occur every 2 seconds. So every 2 seconds, you can heal somebody for 3,440 as long as you're blocking. This is going to be great for block tanks. Now, I know a lot of people will be like, but they don't really need stam recovery. But that's the thing. It will work really good on a block tank, a person who uses sword and shield as their main tanking, because if they need to block for a long period of time, they can do that, and then when they come out of combat, they get that extra recovery coming in, which helps them recover their stamina faster, which will play off of this really well. Or even in combat, they can get fed shards, that kind of thing. The stamina recovery doesn't play into that, but they still can heal people, and that's going to make this a really great support set for some tanks. So, alright, moving on down the line. So, new collectibles, public dungeon, the big-eared ginger kitten is earned by finding 7 rune box fragments containing its collar, sleeping blanket, milk saucer, and other necessities for the Cairn Waste public dungeon, and combining them into a rune box. The next one is the Sea Slow dorsal fin memento, is obtained by completing the quest An Unexpected Betrayal in the Cairn Waste public dungeon. So these two are connected to the same public dungeon, and they both give you that. Then there's the Sigic Glow Orb emote, is earned by finding its 7 rune box fragments in the Sunhold public dungeon as well. And then there's the Griffin Feather Talisman memento, which is in the Sunhold, sundered from the quest. So this is really cool. I'm glad they added some collectibles to the public dungeons, because it makes public dungeons more entertaining to do, because you're getting rewarded for doing them and repeating them and repeating the content of them. So makes farming good. It also makes this really good. I'll get more into the farming later. Trials, new collectible trophies. There's 2 of them for the Cloud Rest, and then there is the new skin when you complete Cloud Rest on veteran mode, so veteran hard mode. So you have to beat it on hard mode to get the skin. That's cool. New quest, the Sigic Skull quest collectibles. Sigic Skullcap hat is by completing the Tower's Fall in Summerset. The face imprint of the Sigic Order, a face markings collectible, is obtained by completing the quest Shattered Staff. Body imprint, Mystic Eyes, Sigic Cuirass. There's the Warden Gauntlets. Oh man, there's a lot of collectibles for that. And then there's a collectible furnishing to obtain also from the Summerset achievements. Next up, we're going to talk about Sigic Portals. This is the thing that we talked about in our live stream earlier today. They're called Sigic Portals, are invisible to untrained eyes and only seen to those with the unseen passive granted as part of the Sigic Order skill line can see the portals and interact with them. Sigic portals appear rarely in similar places to those one might find find enchanting resources near ancient ruins, destroyed buildings, or other relics of the past. Sigic portals contain items based on the location you find them. This includes a random item set from the sets that can drop from monsters or chests in a place you found it. For instance, a Sigic portal found in Aradon might drop a piece of elegance. These set items will always be at least blue quality and may sometimes be purple quality. An aspect, essence, and potency ruins is never a Ta rune. It is always a green quality or above quality. The essence rune may be an essence rune currently in-game, including rarely a prismatic rune. Ooh. The potency rune is based on the level of passive rank in a 50-50 split. Okay, rarely you may obtain a motive chapter of the Sigic portal from a Sigic portal. This motive chapters are from a motive found within the that zone. For instance, a Sigic portal in the Clockwork City might grant you the Clockwork Apostle chapter. That's kind of cool. Psijic portals may include infused jewelry as or is associated trait materials, pulverized arabic amber and refined arabic amber, as noted above in the jewelry crafting section. So this is cool. And very rarely a Psijic portal may contain a single drop of Psijic ambrosia. So very, very cool stuff there. Abysmal Geysers. Abysmal Geysers are a new event found in the Summerset, pitting you and your allies against a wave upon wave of foes, capped off by a fight against a boss monster. Depending on how well you and your allies perform, you may fight against a Yagra monstrosity or one of a number of deadlier, more rewarding named bosses. Fighting a Yagra monstrosity provides guaranteed ring and necklace in either the Grace of Gloom, Griffin's Ferocity, Wisdom of Vanis item sets, among the other loot. Fighting one of the named bosses guarantees a ring or necklace will be at least blue quality and sometimes purple quality. In addition, you will receive a guaranteed jewelry enchantment of at least blue quality among other loot. So that's kind of cool. And then regardless of which boss you fight, at the end of the geyser you'll be able to open a shell trove for additional rewards, another set ring, necklace, or a chance of a Psijic motive chapters, and a chance at uniquely clammy furnishings. So that's funny. And then new houses. So there's actually 3 new houses coming in with this update. The first one is the Golden Griffin Garret, which is a apartment type inn room, similar to what we got in the Morrowind update. This is going to be a little different, but this is mainly, you're going to be able to purchase this, but you're also going to be able to get this as creating a new character. New characters created in Summerset will be able to get this as their starting home. So Alinor Crest Townhouse on the heights of Alinor, with easy access to the Royal Palace with splendid mansions, was built as a consultant with the Bosmeri ambassador of the whatever dynasty. With the ambassador now in Elden Root, the townhouse is available for you. Then there's the colossal Aldemiri Grotto. This is the one I want. Once a watering stop for the High Elf Navy, this great cavernous grotto on the Summerset coast west of Dusk features a shipboard apartments, magnificent Aldemiri ruins, weathered wood from several shipwrecks, and a sparkling subterranean waterfall. This is an amazing home, by the way. Alright, moving on. Base game changes. Battlegrounds moving to base game. So if you guys don't have access to Battlegrounds right now, when Summerset comes out, you will have access to Battlegrounds. Really, really cool, too, because there's a lot of fun activities in Battlegrounds. Also, the Activity Finder now includes a daily reward for completing random Battlegrounds, as well as a bonus XP. You must come in first or second place to earn these rewards. Further queuing for the random Battlegrounds will give you bonus XP if you come in first or second. You can now choose to queue for a specific game type, similar to choosing specific dungeons in the Dungeon Finder. No bonus rewards are granted for using the queue method, but you are guaranteed to get some game, get a game of your choosing when picking deathmatch, flag games, or land grab games. You can also choose to queue for more than one game type, so that's really cool. Morrowind and Warden available in the Crown Store. So the Warden, the Zone of Vardenfell and its associated story are now available in the Crown Store for crowns, and it is also accessible with an active ESO membership. The Warden class is available to purchase separate in the Crown Store. Note, if you already own Morrowind, this will not affect you and how you access the content or class. So if you already own Morrowind, you don't have to worry about this. If you do not, you will be able to get this with an active ESO membership or purchase it with crowns along with the Warden class. Next up, new motives. So there are 4 new motives for crafters with update 18: the Psijic, the Sapark, Fanglair, and Skullcaller. So the Psijic motive chapters, or very rarely the full book, will come from adventuring around Summerset. Activities that may reward the Psijic motive chapters are in order of the most least likely: completing abysmal geysers, killing world bosses, completing abysmal pools, treasure chests with higher difficulty locks being more likely and easier locks being less likely, killing delve bosses, killing monsters. So that's pretty cool. And then the chance to obtain a Psijic motive chapter or book from these sources increases with your rank in the Psijic Order skill line, with rank 10 giving you a 10 times increase over not versus the ways of the Psijic Order. The style item in the Psijic motive, Vitrified Melondo, drops from the same sources as above, more commonly than do the chapters. So this next one is the Sappy Arc motive chapters, or very rarely the full book, come from completing daily quests in the Divine Persecution in Alinor. Prosecution in Alinor, wow. The style item, something blah blah blah, daily quest, but much more commonly than the chapters. Okay. The Fang Layer and Scale Collar motive chapters and style items will be dropped from their respective dungeons shortly after the launch of Summerset. So there's a new Fang Layer motive and a Scale Collar. That's really cool. I want both of those. New achievements. So Fledgling Style Master and Grand Master Crafter. So that's kind of cool. New Alliance War and Battleground collectibles. So there is the Arena Gladiator Helm. A hat collectible can be earned by acquiring 20 Arena Gladiator proofs from the new Conquest board dailies in Cyrodiil, and then consuming an Arena Gladiator's recognition available from purchase from the War Researcher in the Cyrodiil base camps. This creates a rune box of the Arena Gladiator Helm, which you may use, sell, or trade. Outfit style pages of Fanged Worm and Horned Dragon equipment can be occasionally obtained from Battlemaster, something reward box, which are obtained by completing your first battleground, looking for group in a day of that character. These style pages are account bound and will not drop if you already have that item in your inventory or the outfit style unlocked. New alchemy regents. So if you travel along the shores of Summerset, you may run across giant clams. These clams, when looted, may yield up to two of the following: 2 of the alchemy gems, powdered mother of pearl, and clam gall. Clam gall is an offensively oriented regent, while powdered mother of pearl is more defensively oriented, granting new combinations of survival effects. Fish meat for provisioning, bait including roe, guts, and worms. So new alchemy regents, grease solvents and alchemy poisons, or very rarely clam-themed furnishings for your home. Crown Store gifting, guys, finally, the thing a lot of us have been waiting for. Beginning with Update 18, many Crown Store products, with the exception of houses and instant unlocks such as Vampire Bites, will be available to gift to other players. When a gift is received, the recipient is notified via the notification system. So if houses, oh wow, houses aren't part of it. That sucks. Links take them directly to their gift inventory where they can open the gift. When a gift is sent, the sending player retains the receipt of the transaction with their sent gifts section of the gift box. So the gift inventory for sent gifts is categorized into unclaimed and claimed gifts. The gift inventory is found within the UI, a Crown Store UI. All gifts have a 14-day expiration timer, at which point the gift is returned to the gifting player. Return gifts live within the return section of the gift inventory. Returned gifts cannot be claimed by the player who purchased the gift originally, but can be gifted to another player. So that's kind of cool. Next up, champion point increase. So champion points cap has been increased by a total of 30 points. So 10 for each tree for a total of 750 champion points. The champion point increase curve has been automatically adjusted with the new cap, so the earlier champion points require less experience and can be earned faster. That's kind of cool. Next up, they talk about template stuff. I'm not going to go over this or any of these other these fixes with a lot of the art and animations and stuff with the things. We're going to go right down here to combat and gameplay challenges, or combat and gameplay changes. Gosh, I wish I could stop saying challenges. And we'll start here. So rebalance the light and heavy attack damage scaling ratios so that light and heavy attacks now scale their damage the same way that normal abilities do. Max Magicka and Max Stamina is now a greater contributing factor towards their damage. Now, I want to say something about this before I get too far. This is going to be awesome because That means light and heavy attack damage is going to adjust based off of your max magicka, max stamina. This is going to make all weapon types more viable because they're going to do greater damage. But we'll have to test on PTS to get an exact. So rebalance light and heavy attack damage across weapon types to reinforce the concept of light and heavy attacks are for dealing damage and heavy attacks are for restoring resources. In general means light attacks with one-handed shield, dual-wield bow, destruction staff, and restoration staff weapons will deal more damage. Light attacks with two-handed weapons will deal less damage. Heavy attacks with destruction staff and restoration staff weapons will deal more damage. Heavy attacks with two-handed, one-handed shield, dual-wield, and bow weapons will deal less damage. So two-handed, I think they might have messed up on this one. The light attacks with two-handed should deal more damage. Because up here it says all that but the two-handed. So it's like, because it would be weird if two-handed dealt less damage than dual-wield, all that other stuff. Because it would make it useless unless they want it to be a tank item. Which doesn't make sense either, so. But that could just be a mistake on their part. Really kind of interesting that they did that. Really excited for it. Okay. Adjusted the ability to dodge various abilities and item set procs. The following can now be dodged. Deathstroke, Summon Shade in its morphs, only the pet's attacks. Maw of the Infernal, only the pet's melee attack. The following cannot be dodged. Arrow Spray in its morphs, Overload and morphs, Noxious Breath, Puncturing Strikes and morphs, Razor Caltrops, Internal Hunt, Defiler, Hand of Mephala, Krogs, Poisonous Serpent, Aurora Valkosh, Cellatrix, Sheer Venom, Spawn of Mephala, Stormfist, Thorvikin, Tremor Scale, Twin Sisters, and Widowmaker. The Shadow Mundustone can now only affect critical damage and does not affect critical healing. By the way, that is a change that they put across the board for all skills. Anything that increases your critical damage only affects critical damage. It does no longer affect your critical healing unless it's your champion points. If it's something like, say, Trap Beast, it only affects critical damage, not critical healing anymore. Only healing effect stuff affects healing. Only critical damage stuff affects critical damage. You guys probably get it. Alright, player abilities. Developer comments and ability changes. We made numerous ability changes with the latest update. Some have global implications while others are specific tweaks and quality of life changes. Some of our major goals with these changes include improving unpopular abilities and morph choices. Most of the ability tweaks are targeting underused skills or morphs that we found few players utilize. Increasing the viability of all classes to perform the tank and healer roles. Some classes have received significant updates to help improve their ability to tank and heal dungeon and trial content. Reducing the effectiveness of long duration snares. A few snares have had their strength reduced to better balance their high uptime on enemy targets, and DPS balancing. Some abilities and item sets have had their damage values and procs adjusted to improve the damage disparity between magic and stamina builds. Other changes were focused on creating better party parity between melee and ranged builds. Buffs and debuffs. The first change, Empower. This buff category now increases the damage done by your next light attack by 40% instead of increasing the damage done by any of your attacks by 20%. And they do give a really good explanation why. This makes Empower a friendly buff to use in rotations and decreases some of the burst potential of combining it with other abilities. And that is true. It was very powerful in the burst aspect. But now it's going to be better for those long duration fights. So, Major and Minor Force, these buff categories now only affect critical damage and will not affect critical healing. So only these buffs, not the champion points, guys. That's a completely different category. These things here are what they're saying will affect. So, Dragon Knight. First changes, Ardent Flame, Carterize, Inferno Morph. Increase the range of the heal from this morph to 28 meters up from 15. Thank you. Combustion. This passive ability now also restores 200 to 500 magicka stamina to you when you apply the burning poison status effect to an enemy. This effect can occur once every 5 seconds. This is going to make really good use of talons and noxious, or the fire breath, you know, the breath or poison breath one. This is going to take really good use of those, because anytime you do those with a DK, now you're going to get magic or stamina back from any time you apply that status effect. So even I'm hoping even like the enchants on your weapons. So this will make DKs really susceptible to be being made into more dot build. So that really does improve them. Empowering change. This morph now grants 2 stacks of empowered buff up from 1. Okay. Shifting standard. Decrease the cost of this morph to 225 ultimate from 250 ultimate. That's pretty good. Draconic power. Reflective plate. Reflective scale morph. This morph now removes all snare effects from you when you cast this ability. That just made reflective plate really powerful in PvP. Not sure about PvE yet, because I got to do some testing, but it might help in PvE as well when you're playing a tank and you want to get that trash off you that keeps snaring you and stuff. That might be a good way to do that. Earth and Heart. A lot of changes in Earth and Heart. So first off, Ash Cloud. This ability now heals you and your allies in the area and snares enemies. Note, the Eruption morph remains unchanged. So Eruption morph still does damage, guys, but the other one heals. So Cinderstorm, Ash Cloud morph, this morph now increases the healing done. So that's really cool. Obsidian Shard, increase the healing done by this morph by approximately 25%. Healing Shard just got a massive boost in healing done. This is going to make Obsidian Shard a really powerful burst heal for you to use on your allies. Obsidian Shield, this ability now grants major mending for 2.5 seconds as a baseline effect, but no longer grants you a stronger damage shield that absorbs 200% more damage. In addition, we've also made adjustments to both morph. Igneous Shield. This morph now grants a stronger damage shield that absorbs 200% more damage. So this is where they move that 200% more damage. And Fragmented Shield. This morph now increases the duration of major mending to 4.5 seconds. So here's what I see, how I see this happening. I see those who want the damage shield to be more powerful for them, they're going to run Igneous Shield. Those that want the healing factor are going to run Fragmented Shield. I don't see a real major shift in the meta, really, because the meta people are still going to want that damage shield to be greater on the tank while applying that major mending. So I see that as still being a major thing. Fragmented Shield, I see a lot of healers running, because they'll be able to use that shield across all their allies, even though it's not going to be as effective for them. So it's going to make this a really interesting setup for DK healers playing the bubble tank, or bubble healer. Shattering Rocks, Petrify morph. This morph has been redesigned so that when the stun ends, it causes the enemy's next attack to heal their target. So that's really cool. Stone Giant, Stone Fist morph. This morph now also grants minor ward in addition to minor resolve. That is awesome, because that makes it a really tank effective ability for a tank to use, because there was no really reason to use it before. Now they can throw it, hit the enemy, and they can get minor ward and minor resolve. That's going to be pretty cool for tanks if you utilize that ability. Next up, Nightblade. Lots of really good changes in Nightblade, in my opinion. Assassin's Blade. This ability and its morphs now deal their bonus execute damage when the target is below 25% health, down from 26 health. I think that's a good change, because a lot of things that do 25%, you know, it's good to keep them in balance. So Lotus Fan, the snare applied by this morph now reduces movement speed by 40%, down from 70%. That's going to put it more in line with a lot of other abilities, so that's good. Shadow, Bolstering Darkness, Consuming Darkness morph. This morph now causes major protection buff to remain on you even after leaving the area. The buff will persist for the duration of the ability. So that's really cool. Now, Dark Cloak. This morph no longer grants invisibility. Instead, it heals you for 32% of your max health over 3 seconds and grants minor protection for the duration. That's a really... I can say this. I see a lot of tanks using this. A lot of tanks will be switching to that. Dark Shades, Summon Shade morph. So renamed the morph to Dark Shade, singular, because this morph now summons 1 shade instead of 2, and the shade will occasionally deal a point blank area of effect damage around it. That's really cool. Manifestation of Terror, aspect of Terror morph, reducing the the arming time of the traps created by this morph to 2 seconds from 3 seconds. That's really good. Path of Darkness. Now, this one, a lot of people are kind of like, I honestly think it's a good change. They reduce the damage and healing done by this ability and refreshing path morph by approximately 5%. The reduced damage done by twisting, and they reduced the damage done by twisting path by approximately 9%. Twisting path had a lot of DPS behind it, while the refreshing path had good healing and decent damage. Now it has good healing and decent damage still. It's just they just adjusted it to bring it more online with some of the Nightblade's other abilities. Alright, siphoning. This is where things get really good. Except for Strife. I know a lot of people are mad about that, but we'll get to that. So debilitate. The critical cripple morph. This morph now refunds 100% of the ability's cost to if the enemy dies while affected by it, increased from 50%. So now it's 100% if the enemy dies when you use it. So that's really good. Malevolent Offering. This ability in its morphs now smart heal an ally in front of you instantly instead of healing a specific target over time. Each cast of this ability will place a damage over time effect on you that drains your health over 8 seconds. So what they did was they swapped it. So before it did heal over time with damage, major damage to you. Now it does damage to you over time with a burst heal. This is how it should have been, and this is awesome. This is going to make that a great change for those healers that like it. I'm excited for that. Siphon Soul. Increase the radius of this heal and by this morph to 28 meters from 15 seconds. So this is a massive increase, because now that heal is going to hit everyone in a 28 meter radius. So that's going to make that Soul Siphon a much greater heal for Nightblade healers to use, and does put them in line with like Templars and stuff like that. Strife. Increased the cost of this ability and its morphs by 2,700 from 1891. Now I want to go over this comment. This change was made to put Strife ability to put the Strife ability cost more in line with similar types of abilities such as Force Shock. And I agree. No offense to those that are mad by it. I am glad they made this change. It's something that was much needed. Strife was too easily used by Magicka Nightblades. And now that it's brought in line with Force Shock, it means you got to use it a little bit more hesitantly, but you're still going to use the snot out of it. Most people will. But I think that's a really good change. That's just my opinion, though. Moving on to Sorcerer. Dark Magic change. Blood Magic. Increase the healing done with this passive ability procs by 5 to 10% of your max health from 4 to 8%. That is awesome. That's going to be great. Daedric Minds. They decrease the cost of this ability and its morphs by 5,400 magic. It's to 5,400 magic from 6,480. That's a really good one. Negate Magic. They increase the duration of this ability and its morphs by 12 seconds from 10 seconds. Really good. They explain why. I'm not going to really go over it. Persistence. The passive now reduces the cost of your next Magicka or Stamina ability used within 4 seconds by 7 to 15% after you block an attack. That's going to make it really good for tanks. Ruin Cage. Ruin Prism Morph. This morph now deals its damage when the stun ends. If it is broken early, or if the ability ends naturally instead of when the stun completes. So that's kind of cool. Ruin Prison. Increase the duration of the stun applied by this ability and its morphs to 5 seconds from 2.5 seconds. This is going to be really good for tanks. Ruin Prison. Alright. Daedric Summoning. Bound Armor. This ability and its morphs are no longer toggle abilities. Slotting Bound Armor will continue to grant you an increase of max Magicka. And activating these abilities will increase the amount of damage you can block by 20% for 3 seconds. Bound Aegis. This morph now grants Minor Ward and Minor Resolve while it is slotted. Bound Armaments. This morph converts to a ability into a stamina ability and now increases damage done with light attacks while slotted instead of heavy attacks. So it looks like one will give you max Magicka. I don't know if the Bound Armaments will still give you max stamina, but if I have to have it slotted on both bars, I still will, just because I want that extra stamina. So, especially on my Stam Sword. We'll have to see how things work out. Conjure Ward. They increase the strength of the damage shield summoned by this ability in its morphs by approximately 10%. Harden Ward. Decrease the morph's bonus to your own damage shield to 20% from 30%. And they kind of give a brief description. I'm not really worried about that one. Increase the health of the Atronach summoned by this ability and the charged Atronach morph by approximately 70%. This thing's going to have an insane amount of health, and it's going to make tanking, Sork tanking, really, really good with that. Summon Unstable Familiar. The pet summoned from this ability now has a basic area of effect special ability that can be used while the pet is active. And then same thing with the Winged Twilight. Storm Calling. The one change they did was Lightning Flood, and this morph now increases damage done by approximately 15%. So a lot more damage from Lightning Flood, which is really good. Templar changes. Lots of good changes here. Burning Light. Increase the damage done by this passive ability by approximately 9%. Piercing Spear. This passive ability now only affects critical damage and does not affect critical healing. Puncturing Sweep Strikes. Puncturing Strikes morph increases the healing done by this morph to 40% of the damage done from 35. So they increase the healing on it to probably give more survivability. Dawn's Wraith. 2, 3, 4 changes. 3 changes. So Solar Disturbance, Nova Morph. This morph now increases the duration of Major Maim debuff. It applies to 4 seconds. It applies for 4 seconds. So, or it applies it now for 4 seconds. Solar Flare. This ability and the Dark Flare morph now grant Empower buff instantly after being cast instead of when the projectile hits the target enemy. Enduring Rays. This passive ability now increases the duration of Sunfire, Eclipse, and Nova abilities by 2 seconds instead of a 15 to 30%. It now also increases the duration of debuffs applied by Solar Flare and its morphs. So that's really kind of cool. Now moving on to the really big changes, which is the Restoring Light. Breath of Life, Rush Ceremony morph. Reduce the healing done on this morph's secondary heal by approximately 33%. Hasty Prayer. This morph now grants Minor Expedition to you and your allies for 5 seconds. And then Healing Ritual. This ability and its morphs no longer have a cast time. They are now instant cast abilities and heal for the same amount. The costs have been increased to 7,290 Magicka from 3,780 Magicka. A big increase in the Magicka cost, but the heals on this are gonna be insane. So, Honor the Dead, Rush Ceremony morph. This morph now refunds part of the ability's cost over 6 seconds down from 8. So it's going to give you more Magicka back in the long run. And then on to the Warden, Animal Companion, Deep Fissure. This morph no longer stuns the closest enemy. It now applies Major Breach to all enemies hit for 5 seconds. Wow. So it loses a stun but gets Major Breach. That means you're going to be able to apply Major Breach, which is going to add another 5,000 and something, 5,280 magic penetration, spell penetration to your attacks for 5 seconds. That's crazy. Next, what's Subterranean Assault? This morph no longer applies Major Breach to enemies hit. It only applies Major Fracture. The duration of Major Fracture has been reduced to 5 seconds down from 10 seconds. So this is making the stamina version be equal to the Magicka version and making them identical almost. Just one does Magic Breach, one does Physical Breach. So, or one does Spell Penetration, one does Physical Penetration. So that's kind of a nice trade-off. Green Balance, Bursting Vines. This morph now grants 10 ultimate when used on an ally under 60% health and added a 4-second cooldown. Alright, good deal. Nature's Grasp. This ability is, and the Nature's Embrace morph now grant 3 ultimate when healing over time completes. So, pretty good there. Winter's Embrace. Arctic Wind. Increase the initial heal done by this ability and its morphs to 12% of your max health from 10%. Crystallized Shield. Increase the cost of this ability and its morphs to 3,240 from 2,701. Frozen Gate. This ability and its morphs now deal frost damage to the enemy when the trap is triggered. That's actually really cool. I like that. I really like that. Alright, moving on. Weapon changes, skills. Shield Charge. Increase the duration of the stun applied to this by this ability and its morphs to 3 seconds, up from 2 seconds. That's pretty good. Deadly Cloak change. Reduce the damage done by this morph by approximately 15%. Guys, I don't know how much that is, but it shouldn't be much. It should probably put it down, like, depending on where your stamina weapon damage is, we could see, like, a, you know, we're going to see a 15% difference, but it's not going to be drastically over, like, it's still going to do decent damage. The snare applied by this morph now reduces movement speed by 40%, down from 50. Bow, rapid fire, this ability and Toxic Barrage morph now grant you crowd control immunity while you are channeling them. Lots of stuff, man. Werewolf, world skills. Brutal Pounce. This morph now deals full damage to the primary target and partial damage to the secondary targets rather than hitting the primary target twice with partial damage. The total damage dealt remains unchanged. So, lots of good changes there. Now, this is the one that's going to really trip people out. Or trip people out because it no longer requires a passive. So this ability now requires you have a Frost Staff equipped to obtain its bonus, instead of requiring the Frost Staff and Tri-Focus passive. It can also be obtained by having a shield equipped. So Bulwark is really good, by the way. Increases your resistances. So combat fixes and improvements. Some pretty interesting fixes and stuff. I'm not going to go over all these. I want to kind of move on down the line to some other stuff. Itemization balances. So two-handed bow, destruction staff, restoration staff weapons now count as for 2 pieces towards an item set bonus. Awesome. Consumables. Decrease the strength of the snare applied by the hindrance poison to 40% from 50%. Not sure how bad that's going to hurt. And next up, Master Maelstrom Asylum two-handed weapon sets now require 2 pieces to complete the set. Since two-handed weapons now grant 2 pieces for an item set bonus, this change is purely cosmetic. Archer's Mine. This item set now only affects critical damage and not critical healing. Coward's Gear. This item set now requires you to you are both sprinting and moving to obtain its bonuses. Cruel Fury. This item set only works on damage over time abilities you cast from your bar and not damage over time procs, such as the Twin Blade and Blunt. Night Mother's Gaze. This item set now applies Major Fracture to the enemies when you deal critical damage instead of reducing their physical resistance by 2,580. So instead it'll do 5,280 physical penetration, and that is the same thing that that the Sword and Shield does. But this is going to make Night Mother's Gaze super awesome in PvP and in PvE. But the reason I say it's going to be super awesome in those things is because tanks can use this set with a two-handed weapon. Now, I know a lot of people are like, nobody will do that. Yeah, people will do that. I'm doing that. I can't wait. Prisoner's Rags. This item set now requires that you are both sprinting and moving to obtain its bonus. That's a good change. Sunder Flame. This item set now applies Minor Breach and Minor Fracture to the enemy when you deal damage with a fully charged heavy attack instead of reducing the physical resistance by 3,440. So now it applies a 1,200 and something or 1,000 something physical resistance reduction and spell penetration reduction on the enemy, just like the spear thing from the Templar does. But this is more of a constant effect because the way that Sunder Flame works. They also increase the damage, the flame damage dealt with a fully charged heavy attack to 4,000 from 774. Blah. So it does 4,000 damage now, which is crazy amount of extra damage. This is going to be a really good set, guys, still to use because of that Minor Breach, Minor Fracture. No other set applies that. So that's going to be really good for stamina DPS. Not great, but good. Item sets, fixes, improvements. The Akavari Dragon Guard, they fixed an issue where the item set was not reducing the cost of Overload's light and heavy attacks. Now it does. Blessings of Ponitas fixed an issue where this item set was not reducing the cost of Overload's light and heavy attacks. And then Caloran's Legacy, they fixed an issue where this item set could not trigger from the Inferno or Flames of Oblivion abilities. And there's just some minor fixes there. And then, of course, there's a lot of other fixes and stuff. Lots of PvP stuff. I'm not going to go through all the PvP stuff, guys, but there is a lot of PvP stuff. That's what we're looking at right now. I mean, just look at this. There's so much. There's a lot of other people that cover that. So Crown Store and Crown Crates, they moved the Fang Layer cursor mount to the special mount category in the Crown Store and Housing Editor. They did some other stuff. And then Dungeon and Group Content. The following dungeons have been adjusted to require CP300 in order to queue using the Activity Finder. If you want to play through Veteran Bloodroot, Cradle of Shadows, Falkreath Hold, Fang Lair, Imperial City, Ruins Ma's Tomb, Scout Collar Peak, or White Gold Tower, any of the DLC dungeons, you have to be CP300 now to do them on Vet mode. They were designed that way. They were designed for Vet difficulty. So that's a good change. A really good change. Dragon Star Arena. Your character will no longer accept... yeah, that's just a funny one. Some trial fixes. Just one, Hellrose Citadel. And a lot of other fixes and different things, like a lot of housing stuff, kind of furnishing stuff, some home fixes, miscellaneous stuff. Oh, and by the way, increase the amount of CPU cores used by the client, which will improve the overall frame rate for your players, on mid to high-end CPUs. This will be most notable in PvP or graphically intense scenarios. Improved character composition, compositing, resulting in faster character loads and less frame rate spikes. Fixed an issue with character loading that would cause the all-black stand in character models to persist for longer than expected. Made some improvements to the issues where the frame rates could decrease over time, most notably while in Cyrodiil, and implemented additional fixes to prevent long load times across the game. Fixed various issues that were causing players in your group to appear invisible. This is great fixes, guys. And then there's a lot of quest zone fixes, things like that, UI fixes, just some minor stuff, add-ons, Alliance War, collectibles, crafting, Crown Store, blah, 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 blah. Lots of stuff. Let's see, known issues. Audio issues, combat, sorcerer, bolt escape, crafting and economy, exploration item. I don't want to go that long. So, awesome changes all around. There's a lot of really good changes, a lot of unusual changes, but until a lot of us get on PTS, start checking a lot of the stuff out. I haven't even been on PTS. It's 1 p.m. The PTS is still patched, was still patching when I was doing this video, so I don't know if it's live yet, but I'm just super excited to be able to get in here and test a lot of this stuff and just experience it for myself. So I will definitely be bringing you guys a lot of videos throughout the week. Keep an eye out for those. I'm going to be doing one on jewelry crafting, the Sigic Order, everything I can, just everything. So keep your eyes open for that, guys. Those will be coming out pretty soon, pretty quickly, to be honest. But they are going to be changing the what your character can do in the next PTS. So in the next PTS, we're going to get a newer, advanced version of our characters. Right now, it's still got older characters on there. In the next update, they said they'll increase it to a newer version for our characters. So this is just basically this week they want us doing a lot of testing on the story and things like that. We can't reveal any story stuff, but we can talk about anything else, so that's kind of cool. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. So, hope you guys liked the video. If you guys did, hit that like button. If you guys want to see more videos by me, or just want to watch my videos in general to see what the different things I might come out with, you can hit that subscribe button. Other than that, I want to thank you all for watching. Until next time, have a wonderful day, and this guy might see you in game. Bye.